Hi, I'm Rodrigo from DJ Tech Zone, and today we're going to look at the Roland DJ-202 Serato DJ controller with built-in sequencer and drum machine sound from the legendary drum machines like the 606, 707, 808, 909. And we're going to review this controller and we're going to look at it, how it performs as a basic entry-level DJ controller, albeit it has some extended functions, one can say, that other entry-level controllers don't have. Build quality, well, it's a basic controller, so somewhere money has to be saved, and it's clearly on the build quality. The jog wheels are excellent. I really like them. They're really very responsive and they feel really good, and they're massive as well. If you look at them, they're really big. But yeah, the faceplate and the entire casing of the controller is plastic. There is nothing fancy about it, but it's all pretty solid. It's all pretty well made and pretty solid, so no complaints there. It's a traditional controller with the Serato, the traditional Serato DJ layout, two 2x8 performance pads, 2 jogs, a mixer, a 2-channel mixer, and the basic RCA output with nothing else there. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty good, and there is not much complaining possible about the feature set, because you get really a lot of stuff for less than $300, which is a pretty good deal in my book. Let's first look at the effects section of the DJ-202. Has a traditional, again, Serato DJ effect section. There are no knobs per effect, but you do have buttons to activate and deactivate your effect, and one knob to set the level and the beats of the effect. They work pretty well. There's Serato DJ effects from Isotope, and you can change, as I said, you can change the level of the effect with the knob, and the buttons allow you to select a different effect as well. Activate that. You can select a different effect with the knob if you wish to. The pitch fader is a very small one, small pitch fader. It's an entry-level controller again, but yes, it does its job pretty well. There is not much to complain about the pitch fader. You can change the pitch with the shift knob, so the range with the pitch knob, the range of the pitch. If you do shift range, you can see it changing right there, so that's easy to do. Then we go to the jog wheels. As I said, the jog wheels are pretty responsive, they're pretty nice, and you get, even if this is an entry-level controller, you get a slip mode button where you can activate the slip function. You don't have an indicator though on the controller that the slip function is activated, so to be sure if it's yes or no activated, you have to look at your screen. There it's off. There it's on. If I put vinyl mode off, I will not see zero. So, jog wheels, really a big plus for this controller. Going down onto the decks, we go to the performance pads. And there is a lot going on the performance pad section, because you have the usual 8 pads. Note, these are really basic pads. They are clicky buttons. They are not the rubberized type of pads that are found on more expensive controllers. These are basic pads, but they serve very good to fire off hot cues or to do the loop. So You have different modes. For example, you have the hot cue and the loop. Slip mode off. The loop. It's a different loop size. And underneath the loop you have the loop roll. And further you have the sampler and also the slicer. Which is pretty cool. And then right in between you have also the buttons to control the sequencer. The sequencer controls all your samples or the built-in drum sounds, and you can play pre-recorded patterns that are in there already, or you can create your own patterns. Let's see how you build a pattern on the DJ-202. First you have to put it in the sequencer mode, which is just pressing the sequencer button, and then you have to shift and press a pad to select an instrument you wish to sequence. So for example, you have to remind yourself where the instruments are. So here I would have a bass. I select the bass, and simply pressing the pads will sequence those into the chain. So I kill this and I say, okay, let's sequence something else. With the parameters I can go further in the sequencer, so access 8 additional steps. So I can, for example, say and then we get things rolling. And there we go, and we have a sequence going on. So with a sync button, what I can do now is simply I have a track playing, everything is synced up. And my sequence is nicely synced up with the playing track. So you also have built-in patterns that you can use. They're all pretty nice. And additionally, there are more options, and I'm not going to explain you everything, but there are more options than what I'm explaining you. But one other cool thing is that you can, I can play them just live. So if I double click quickly on the sequencer button, I access the instant play mode, I believe it's called, and you can play the kits live, and you can actually switch between kits. Pretty cool. And you know, you can do all that stuff with your samples as well. If you have samples loaded, you can do all that stuff with your samples as well. And that's pretty amazing for an entry-level controller. I cannot say it enough. So I would say, just to give you a little recommendation before we go to the conclusion, is that if you are looking for an entry-level Serato DJ controller and you are a little bit adventurous and you want to try out all that sequencing and you know, remixing stuff, this is a very good option. Although that the sequencing functionality and the drum machine is really hidden into the controller, so there are no labels. And I must say, I had to go to the manual a few times to understand the most basic use of the sequencer, where on the DJ-808 it was just self-explanatory because it was all labeled, and there was a separate step sequencer there. It was much easier to get a grasp on how to use it. Actually, a bit weird, but the use of the sequencer is a bit more difficult to get the hang on this entry-level controller than on the more expensive controllers, because here you just don't see it. I mean, you don't see the kits, you don't see anything. It's just all in your head. Where are the kits? Where are the instruments? It's the way it is, and you cannot ask for more for the entry price that Roland is asking for this controller. That's the DEX and the sequencer part of the DJ-202. Let's go to the mixer. The mixer is a traditional 2-channel mixer with sturdy faders, with a loose crossfader, which will it's not snappy enough for scratching. It's a basic entry-level crossfader, so it will work for scratching, but it's not going to help you win any championships, of course. You have a master VU, and you have trim knobs, very important, trim knobs, sorry, a full EQ, full kill EQ, a dedicated filter button, which is nice, and you have master level mixing phone levels. I like that it is on the mixer itself, not underneath, not on the front plate. Makes it more accessible and easier to manipulate when you're playing. And also very cool, a sample level volume. If you use samples, then you have a sample level volume that you can use to set your sample levels. Very cool. And not to forget also a cue button for your samples, so you can pre-listen to your samples before pushing them into the mix, which is nice. Apart from that, finally you have the navigation options that allows you to go to your crates and to your tracks, and the load buttons, and that's all very simple and very well made. So that's the Roland DJ-202. Let's have a look at the connections. There is not much to say, but let's have a look what there is connection wise on this controller. So on the back of the DJ-202, it's very simple. You have an USB port to connect your computer. You do have a MIDI out, which is pretty cool, to connect external MIDI equipment, so you can sync external MIDI gear, for example Roland area gear, with this controller. And then on the far right you have the master out and a microphone input. It's out there in the back. So my conclusion is that the Roland DJ-202 is a very nice DJ controller, especially for the entry price. If you're considering to buy a controller, or you want to get into this producing, sampling, drum sequencing part of DJing, the new era, if you want, then this is a good investment, because it will not cost you as much as dedicated sequencing gear and for example an more expensive Roland DJ controller, or even more expensive sampling gear. It is very easy to use. As I said, the sequence pattern stuff is a little bit hidden in the controller, so it's not so easy to get used to. It takes a little bit getting used to, if you want, but once you are used and you know your drum kits and you know your patterns and you know your sounds, it's easy. You can even you could even put some labels on them if you would like to, but there is that lack of information on the controller itself about the whole sequencer part. But yeah, it's an entry-level controller. It will cost you less than $300, and if you want to get into that, this is a very good option. It's a very nice way to do so. I hope you like the review. There is a lot more coming. There is a lot more waiting to be reviewed here in my DJ Tech Zone studio, and so keep informed. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed to the channel, and click on the little bell icon so you get notifications when I put new videos online. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you the next time. Bye.